Hi everyone, I'm Matt. Hi, it's good to see you. I'm assuming that most of you are kind of like creative arts teachers, film teachers, music teachers and so on, and you want to teach a bit of film to students. My name's Matt Hawkins from Flinders University, Bedford Park and the city as well. We have many city campuses. We also teach at AC Arts campus as well. So we're broadening our footprint everywhere, Flinders University. And I'm in the Humanities, Arts and Social Sciences department, and I'm going to be talking about teaching screenwriting, which is a really challenging thing to do as teachers of film, because the first thing a kid wants to do is grab a camera and run around with that camera with overexposed shots and poorly framed shots and yelling at her mates who are the actors and so on. Which is great fun, which is really, really cool, and that's why we do it, because we want to create stories that are visual and compelling and oral and really, really a lot of fun to do. However, in order to manage that process, we need a screenplay, but not just a screenplay, a series of pre-production documents that make the process easier, tangible, manageable, and so everyone doesn't kill each other at the end of the film shoot. I've been in all stages of development of production. Oh, there we are. This is a cool shot of Flinders University Screen and Media. That's where I've come from. And later on, if you're good, I'll show you our show reel, which will be very, very exciting. But this is me. Here I am. I am a senior lecturer in screen production. Yes, got all those qualifications. But most importantly, I've been 20 years plus as a screenwriter, director, producer, playwright, videographer across Australia, the UK and West Africa. So I've got a broad sense of film industries, film format, requirements of visual communication, both in a narrative form and a documentary forms. I have been an actor, a director, a producer, a caterer, a sound recordist, a cinematographer and an editor. I've done everything. So I've had my hand across all the departments of film, but I specialise in various ones. I'm very, very fortunate to work in video and film production with some wonderful people who have taught me the whole thing from where to go. So having that sort of sense of the broad perspective of the whole film production process is really important as a screenwriter, so you know where you sit in this long scale production. And we've all seen, Hollywood movies where it starts with a concept, and then 5 years later, you premiere the film, sometimes 7 years later. It takes a long, long time. Production's getting quicker, but it still has to be managed. Because it is an industrial process. When you make films, it gets done. If you're a screenwriter, unlike a novelist, a poet, or even a playwright, you can't have it not produced. It's got to be produced. And so that's what a screenplay is. It is something that is a blueprint for production. So I've also gone back to the world of theatre too. So I'm also involved in theatre now. So the two things are serving each other. So, just a few things. How do you learn screenwriting? Read screenplays. What's your favourite screenplay that you've read?
I read a bit of Gladiator, so that was cool.
Gladiator the screenplay, wow, cool. Does anyone know any screenwriters? Has anyone read a feature screenplay?
Probably.
Big Lebowski.
Big Lebowski? Okay, cool. Now look, I don't blame you, that's cool, that's fine. Why would you bother? Watch the goddamn movie. Don't read the screenplay, it's boring. However, if you're a screenwriter, you've got to read screenplays. Now there's a heap of screenplays online. All you need to do is Google screenplay PDF and you'll find heaps of them. There was one called Scriptorama, but that's just one of many now. So as long as you put Hollywood or screenplay PDF, it's important you put the PDF, otherwise you get people who've transcribed the screenplay from watching it and it's really poorly formatted and everything. And some of them, like the Big Lebowski, they're really cool to read. They're written in such a way that it's like watching a movie in your head. And there's a codified way of doing that, which I'll talk to you very briefly today. I feel like I'm crushing 20 years of experience into 50 minutes, but hey, let's just... We'll go with it, why not? And you tell stories with images and sounds. Images and sounds. That's what you got. You got nothing else. So take photographs, record landscapes, just walk around and listen to things. Record it with your phone and go, this is just a soundscape, so you can have presentations. Turn off the lights and hear these sounds and where are you? Because film is 50% oral. Film storytelling is 50% oral. It is so super important to get that sound right. The most harrowed and underappreciated person on a film shoot is the sound recordist. It's the last job anyone wants to do. But if you don't get the sound right, if it peaks, it's unusable and you don't have a film. You've got a tragedy. So sound is super, super important. No genre. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. Work within genres. Genres are languages. When I teach film, I say genre is your language. If you're working outside of genre, that's rubbish. No one works outside of genre. Everyone works within genre. They cleverly combine genre, or they do a different recontextualization of genre, but they work within it because it is the language that the viewer understands and are seeking from the filmmaker. Do acting classes. Do some acting. Well, I went to AFTRS years ago, and the directors that were really bad had never acted in their lives. It's like conducting the orchestra and not being able to play a musical instrument. Honestly. So if you work with an actor and say, just stand there and say that line, they'll look at you and go, W2F, what am I doing here? What do you want from me? I'm a warm prop. You don't have to be a good actor. You don't have to be a good actor, but learn the art of it. So I'm a really bad editor. But at least I know what's involved in editing. I'm an okay sound recordist, not so bad at that. But anyway, you don't have to be an expert in the field, but you've got to know what's associated with it. And then finally, I kind of think you contextualise the screenplay within the production process. It is a tool of production. It is a vital tool of production. It's the roadmap. And if you don't have a roadmap, sorry, we don't have them anymore, do we? It's your Google. You don't have your Google, you can't get to where you want to go. And make short films. But don't just make them, fail. Try, fail, try, fail, try, fail, over and over and over again. So it's easy to say, but if you can set up the point where this first film's not the end product, third one, the fourth one, the fifth one, that's kind of the end product. Same thing with screenplays. No one ever shoots a first draft. It's usually the 7th, 8th, 9th draft because it needs to be refined and you'll make mistakes. You have to because you're trying something that's really cool, something that's really, really creative. It hasn't been done before. So that's a kind of a broad overview of before you even begin formal lessons, this is the sort of thing you should sort of think about. And also within the context of what a screenplay is, there's 4 stages of production and they're all really, really important. Each one is equally important. So say a film takes 4 years, you'll have a year on development and pre-production. Maybe you wouldn't have a year on production, you might have, 6 months on production, a year on post-production and a year on marketing and distribution. The reason why we develop things, because ideas don't come easy, ideas need to be refined, scripts you need to get them right. You need to have the right cast, the right context, the right assets, the right budget and so on. And even in a high school situation, if you get a bunch of kids who want to make a film, they're going to maximise the visual impact of the assets at their disposal. So whatever product they have that they can grab that doesn't going to cost them anything, that's their budget. And development is about how do I best use these assets with the right genre, the right story, in the right context. And how long is it going to be and so on. That's development. That's development. And then our screenplay. I put that into a screenplay. And pre-production is running around to Kmart and buying all that stuff on your $50 budget. Or convincing your Auntie May to let her use her haunted house. That's pre-production. It's lots and lots and lots and lots of phone calls and charming people into getting them to do what you want them to do. And then there's production, of course. That's what people see as filmmaking, actual production. But that's only a quarter of the process, and it's the shortest process. If this is done right, that is fantastic. I've been on great shoots. They've run like clockwork. I've been on terrible shoots where people want to kill each other, like literally every single day, because it's a very complex process. But it's made simpler by pre-production. I keep screaming at all my film students and go, shut up, give me the camera. No, you haven't done your pre-production. You do that, production's going to be good. Now, if your development's really good, then this is going to be great. You'll be able to market it. You'll be able to, with conviction, say, this is what it is. This is why you should screen it. This is why you should watch it. Because I've developed it, and it's good. It's right. It has an audience. Post-production, just before we get there, is also super important, which is editing, colour grading, sound editing as well, and sometimes music. Post-production is a long, long process. Post-production, again, is made all the better if this is run smoothly and you've got the documentation that allows that to happen in post-production with edit notes based on screenplays and camera notes. So there's all this documentation. And this is all screenwriting. So here's the trick. You tell kids, all of these documents are our instruction books to make this marketing and distribution, the people who see it go, wow, this is a really cool film. Because it's been well organised. We've got the right shots. We've thought about what those shots are going to be. And all these golden documents are going to be our starting point to make all this happen. Are you excited yet about screenplays? Because they really are quite boring when you just see them in someone's hands, but when you see the magic behind them, then they become these incredible documents you can't live without.
Can I ask, do we get this PowerPoint?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
I'll send it. Okay, so I said there were 4 stages, but there are kind of 7 stages of screenwriting. Like the 7 stages of grieving. 7 stages of screenwriting. First, there's a concept. Okay, Woody Allen used to write down stuff on bits of paper and shove them in a basket, and then randomly put his hand out and go, "What's my next movie? Oh, it's this." Concepts can be written over and over again. A concept is just an idea. You can get an idea from walking down the street, from seeing an interesting character, from seeing a painting, hearing a piece of poetry. And this is where you as creative arts teachers can draw upon all your other assets, or your music, or whatever you do, or design, and say, hey, this could be a film. What is this story, or what's the kind of thematic concept behind this other piece of artwork? And you can have a really rich and interesting discussion that might resonate with your student body, either culturally, aesthetically, thematically, whatever it is. And you can distill that idea that everyone's going, yeah, that's really cool. They start talking about it, they get excited about it, and say, okay, well, let's turn that into a story. We write a synopsis based on this thematic generic idea. And then we go through that synopsis, and do we have the who, what, how, and why that makes it a tangible story? We've had lots of fun talking about the concept, and we've been inspired by aesthetics, or we've been inspired by theme, and now let's turn that into some sort of story. Now, you get your story, and then your treatment, which is like your plot points. Okay, you write this out. Typically in a feature film, it'll be a 20-page document, I suppose. It's sort of written in prose, but it's what happens when. It's units of action, causally linked sequence of events that has turning points in an act structure. That's what one would do with a feature film. But even if it's a short film, it's something that leads toward a particular turning point and a particular conclusion, which is the answer to the question posed at the beginning of the film. Whatever you've got to do is you've got to work out what is the structure of engagement that the viewer will have with this particular film, and that's your treatment. Now, often, and I've done this dozens of times, I've gotten to that stage and gone, that's it, gone, finished. Can't do it. I can't make a feature film about that. It doesn't have the legs. It doesn't have the narrative longevity to last 90 minutes. It's not the right idea. In the bin it goes. Put my hand in the wastepaper basket and pull something else out, or talk to someone. Because once you think you've got that right, then you go to the screenplay. And the screenplay then becomes the blueprint for production. After you're happy with draft 27 of your screenplay, after everyone's had their hands on it and you've told them all to shut up, this is going to work, then you go towards the shooting script, which is a marked up script, and I'll go through this in detail, of how you're actually going to shoot this film. It is every setup, on the one document. Typically, in a feature film, that's, okay, up to about 300 setups. In a really tightly shot one, 300. They're setups, camera setups, and it's on the screenplay. The shooting script is so much fun. It's really good fun. It's when you become the director and go, oh, right, there's a wide angle here, incorporating these 3 characters, and I'm going to extreme close-up on this guy, and then a reverse shot of this other person, and there it is on the script.
Does the screenwriter work on that solo, or would they work with the director?
Usually work with the director. Sometimes the screenwriters let it go and said, there it is, and they go to their yacht and drink martinis. No, that never happens, but like they can it's different everywhere. In a low budget environment, sometimes the screenwriter is the director, or sometimes you're working very closely together with them. I've made a feature film where I was the screenwriter, but I wasn't involved in marking up the script, but I was involved in continuity as well. So interesting. You take one hat off and put another one on. But it's usually the director. Sometimes they hand it over to the second AD to do that as well. But you do the cinematographer and the director would have their hands on that. So the screenwriter often doesn't. And yes, after the shooting script, then it's a shot list. So you take that marked up script and you make a list of every single shot that you need, of every setup that you're going to do. I love shot lists. I've been, as a director, if I had no shot list, I would just freak out. Because I like ticks. It's like, oh, tick, oh yeah, tick, 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 tick. You take, at the end of the day, of the shoot, you've got a schedule, and that's what comes next. But you've got all the ticks, and I go, right, great, I can rest easy, I can sleep, because at least I've got the coverage to make the basic film. If I don't have the coverage, the editor will scratch their head and go, I can't cut this. I can't cut this. I can't cut away from that person to that situation and have that meaning. And I've had those times, that sinking feeling of, oh shit, I need to go back and do pickups. Oh, hang on, I don't have the budget for pickups. Oh shit, the client's not going to be happy. Oh, you wouldn't believe it. Anyway, you learn. And so what you do is over coverage. Coverage is super important. Shot list, no joy. Lots of pain, hurt, shot list. Sorry, I'll stop saying it. And then your shooting schedule, which is really hard to say. Your shooting schedule, which is what happens when, in a practical sense, as to where you are. You've got to have that. That's super duper important. And there are certain details on that need to be there and be consistent. This is a really cool thing to do for students and learners of film, because it takes the pressure off. You go, okay, oh, this is the whole process. This is the job, rather than just that, okay, or the film. So really, like you do a simple film, a simple idea, generic idea with a little twist on it, with assets at your disposal. No one's the author of that. No one's the great genius. No one's the Charlie Kaufman or the Scorsese or whatever. Who cares? Make it work. It's just got to work, so that what we're assessing are those 7 components. And that's screenwriting. And therefore you take the pressure off the author of the piece, so you stop being precious. Just get the damn thing done. Then move on and do something else. You'll be able to do something else because you would have done it. You would have produced a product. So many people I've seen get here and go, oh, it's all too hard, it's not genius, I'm going to stop. Or they get to the actual shoot going, this is a disaster, everyone's at each other's throats. So get it right and take the pressure off and go, stories belong to everyone. No one writes stories. I've never written a story in my life. I've just recontextualised what's gone before and put it in a different format. That's originality. Shakespeare never wrote a story. Just ripped them off from peasants and stuff like that. Yeah. But you know, there was this one peasant who wrote all those stories so many years ago. I wonder what her name was. I don't know. It's quite funny when you think about it.
Where would storyboard fit into that?
Interesting. The storyboard, in fact, is done by the cinematographer.
Yeah, okay.
It's not really sort of the domain of the scriptwriter. And to be honest, I've only ever done it once. I've made, 50 film productions of short, corporates, videos, narrative dramas. I've done it once. The storyboard. I don't even know the name of it. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, some people do it all the time, but for me personally, I don't really use them.
Because we teach that, don't we? It's quite a key element.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be. Yeah.
So I guess if you're doing a really detailed shooting script and shot list,
It could be just the shot list. It could be a storyboard.
The linear story in the shot list, and then the shooting schedule is the practical approach to getting this.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. So
what does your shot list visually look like?
It's a list of describe. I'll show you in a minute.
It's just written. It's not.
It's just written.
Pictorial.
Yeah, no, it's just written. Yeah, close up, Martha looking at Mary, and then you go back to the screenplay and you'll know what that means. But it's a succinct summary of every shot in the shot list, and to get the actual nature of that shot for me, rather than a storyboard, I go to the screenplay, and that shows me the context of it. I usually haven't used storyboards because I'm just not a great drawer and I can't draw that fast. And if you are in, it's weird. Baz Luhrmann uses them a lot because the visual side is really important, the aesthetic side, so they get a sense of it there. But I just haven't done it. I mean, if I had an artist, I would do it probably at the shot list stage, maybe. I don't know. But I generally work with shot lists and screenplays. You know, that's just me. But yeah, good question. So,
and students usually hate storyboards anyway because it seems to take forever because they say I can't draw.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear you say I don't use it.
No, and I don't know many people who do actually.
That's really
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Only Hollywood people who really monetize film industry.
Labouring over it with students.
Yeah, but I mean, but I guess if you're an artist, it's cool. I mean, I do a lot of sort of sketching for design. I love design, absolutely love it. But I don't do it in that sequence. I just haven't had the time. I haven't had the time. When we made our feature film, we started doing it, but we never even looked at it. It was really weird. Just look at the script, look at that, those two documents. But I'll go through them in a minute.
Okay.
So anyway, concept, setting, time and place. That's Mel Gibson. He's a Scot. There you go. We know what's happening. There you are. So where are we? And really importantly, you think, okay, well, I'm exploring something here. So what's the core quality of my character? I was inspired to write this story. It could have been based on a historical event. But we're following the journey of one particular protagonist or a couple of protagonists. Keep it to one, to start off with. It gets too complicated. Is it greed, envy, bravery? Who is this person and why am I watching them? What makes me angry about them? What do I love about them? What do I hate about them? If they're just some bland dude, I mean, is it worth my attention? And that leads towards, obviously, now I'm probably telling you what you already know. The problem, what's the problem? If there's a problem, there's got to be a plan to solve the problem. And that's who does what and how. Those three things are so important to be clear. What is happening and why do I care? But I care because it's based on equality. You've shown me a greedy person. You've shown me an envious person. You've shown me a particularly brave person. And as I'm engaging with that emotional concept, I want to see where it leads. It's what Lajos Egri, I don't know if you've taught Egri, it says the dramatic premise. The core quality of the protagonist leads toward the conflict. And because we know that core quality, because we're humans, theoretically, we have an opinion and thoughts and feelings about it. So we want to see what happens as a result of it. And that, for Egri, is the trajectory of dramatic storytelling. He was talking about plays, but the same thing applies to film. That you show me, Braveheart, this guy's up against it, very brave, uncompromising. So, obviously, how is he going to chop up all the Brits? That's what I'm looking forward to, because you showed me this dude. That's why I'm watching the damn film. So show me him chopping up Brits, or whatever, in an inventive way. There's the premise. It's based on the core quality of the protagonist. If that core quality is not apparent, I don't care. I can't see it. I'm not engaged. I'm not going forward. So yes, and there's the story is the plan. What's your problem? How are you going to solve it? That's your plan. That's the plot. That's the plot of the story. If it doesn't come from this core character, I can't follow it. And if it's just someone who, they're a police person, well, so what? What are they? Are they greediness? Are they envy? Are they ambition? Are they Macbeth? Are they Romeo and Juliet? You know, I don't care what their job is. What's their internal quality or vice? And then the genre, what sort of story is it? Is it a love story, revenge story, escape story? This relieves you of that weighty obligation of inventing story, which you can't do because no one's ever done it. If you, say, set an exercise, hey, write a revenge story set in this context, then what we're waiting for is when will the revenge occur and what will be the nature of the revenge? Where's the ticking clock of how will that person be emotionally satisfied when that other person suffers? Or it's a love story. Oh, why did this person fall in love with this other person? What's stopping them being in love? You know, that's it. It's generic. But there are multitudinous ways of realising that narrative. So you don't have to come up with that. You've just got to come up with that moment, which is a way of simplifying story. And yeah, is it a comedy or tragedy? Tone and style. How seriously are we taking it? And genre really helps with that. Okay, consistency of tone, consistency of style. This is the hardest thing to learn. And it's almost like something, well, don't worry too much about that. Just talk about genre. Tone is extraordinarily difficult. It's extraordinarily difficult because... Has anyone seen Philomena Kunk on Earth? Yeah. It's a satire, it's a parody of British historical historical documentaries. She has a specific tone. Now, I had a postgrad student wanting to make a mockumentary in that vein. I said, it's like Philomena Kunk. She's not an actor. And I thought, well, it has taken that actor years to refine that character to that degree of pretentiousness and the fatal flaw that she has. You can't do it in one semester. You can't. So this is a lot to do with the performer, okay, and working with performer. It's taken me 40 years to work this out, that you work with the performance at your disposal when you bring out the character. Now, it's a tough thing to do in high school, so possibly something, just allowing genre to drive that is the easier thing, I think. So, you don't recognise this, what this builds from?
The bobsled.
Cool Runnings.
Cool Runnings, yeah.
It's that concept's really great, Jamaican bobsled team goes to Canada, They fish out of water, how are they going to do it, and them in the bathtub. That's the film, that's the plan, okay? What's their core quality? These guys are just go and do it dudes who are from a third world country, okay? So what sort of plan are they going to come up with? Something really inventive but funny, that's the nature of dramatic premise. Pushes the story forward in relation to who the characters are and why we love them. We want to see them succeed in their own kooky way. So the synopsis here is like a 10-point thing. This is the 3-act structure. Now, when I say 3-act structure, when I was at film school, I used to go, oh, shut up. What, there's 3 acts, you decided, some gods decided, like there's 3 acts and 2 turning points. But the more I work professionally in the creation of these things, it doesn't always occur, but it's so useful. It's super useful because it's what we're expecting. And what it is there's a causality in events. And there's a learning structure in life. If I want an answer to something and I Google it and I get that answer, that's boring. It's boring. It's procedure. But if I go and I suffer and struggle and fail and have a breakdown and crawl myself out of the pit of despair and then meet that other girl, there's a story because suffering brings about learning and revelation. So, in a less melodramatic way, the 3-act structure is the 2 learning points. You can't learn everything with your first try. You can't really learn it with your second try. But your third try, oh yeah, you kind of got it. And that allows us to dramatically sit and understand and engage with the concept that goes forward. And this is evident not just in feature films, but in short films, Tropfest films, have a look at them, and all sorts of... And Warner Brothers cartoons, they have a similar structure, maybe 2 acts, but it's this learning process. But anyway, who does what and how? And this is required by, it used to be Screen New South Wales, if they were, where I worked for a while, if they were going to give you any funding, they needed to know the answers to these questions. Screen Australia still requires you to do this in your synopsis, which is, where are we? We're in Jamaica. Hey, I hear reggae music. I see colours. I'm sitting on the beach. I'm not in Bedford Park. I'm in Jamaica. Yo! All right, this is cool. It's got to be a place which is visually interpretable. You can show it visually or orally. That's why I think about soundscape, just going out there and recording stuff. And who is in that setting? You know, what are the types of characters we're dealing with here? How would one perform these characters? How would, you know, again, look at your classes, look at the demographic of your classes, the diversity within your classes. Allow those characters to grow, give them their voice within a particular context. What's the problem? So, you know, as McKee would say, an inciting incident. So what's going to set them off? Hey, we get an opportunity to go to Calgary in the Winter Olympics. But the problem is, we don't have any equipment and we're poor. So we've got to come up with a plan, all of this kooky, crazy, enjoyable stuff that leads to an obstacle. So we have a turning point and a new plan. Okay, that plan was flawed, but there's going to be one that's better. I'll learn a lesson, but not the lesson I really need to learn, because I've got to hit that new obstacle first for the final plan that leads to my success or failure. Doesn't matter. They're the sort of 10 points toward constructing a pretty basic narrative based on a pre-existing story or a genre. You can literally do this over and over again and go, oh, is it right? Is it working? Can we get there? Keeping it simple. You can put deadlines on this sort of thing. So I want this in an hour. I don't care what it is. In an hour, I want that. And then you can go and go, okay, well, let's construct a very short exercise associated with those turning points. How can we visually interpret each one of these? Give me an image per section. Okay? Show me the world. Show me the characters in an image or a sound, and so on. So you can start visually storytelling before you even think about getting out your final draft and writing your screenplay. So cause and effect is what we're really talking about here. Something happens and then something else happens as a result. And this is what plot points are. A really good exercise in relation to these plot points is the but-so exercise. So we say, okay, Mandy walked to the shops, but her bus broke down and got caught on fire. So Mandy decided to push everyone else out of the way and save herself. But she was caught by a policeman. So what is this doing? Is it's forcing you to think of causally linked sequence of events that we can follow the consequence of, because we keep watching things because we think we have we can predict what the character's going to do next, and that's why we keep watching stuff. If we can't predict that, if there's no causally linked sequence of events, we just got a bunch of stuff that happens. And often you get new filmmakers and say, this is just a bunch of stuff happening, of people talking in a room. I don't know what they're going to do next. Because no one cares, and you should tell your students this, no one cares how they feel. Don't care. Only care about what you're going to do. Because I can't possibly tell what you're feeling, but I can observe your behaviour. And I can think, ooh, I think you're going to do this. And then I come to understand you. But if you're just sitting there feeling stuff, I can't see it. And there's no consequence. So that's what cause and effect really is. And that's what leads to the turning point. So that but-so exercise is a cool one just to have fun with, to work out, you know, what is a causally linked sequence of events? Where do we get to a point where we have, oh, wonderful 3-act structure, because it's about a character trajectory. It answers a complex question posed at the beginning of the film. And a really cool way of looking at the act structure is simply Act 1 poses the question, Act 2 explores the wrong answers, and Act 3 discovers the right answer. That's it. That's your act structure. Aristotle said a story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Have you ever heard that? Yeah. So does a piece of string. I mean, he was a philosopher, supposed to be smart. But I think what he was just saying was this is causally linked. You know, the beginning, the middle, and the end is it's a unity of meaning. So again, the unity of meaning in any extended piece of narrative storytelling is questions. What question am I considering? Similarly with a hypothesis, if we're talking about documentary, when I make a documentary, I have a hypothesis at the beginning. I've suggested something is true. And Act 2 really should be the antithesis, what the alternative answers are. And Act 3 is the synthesis, which is what the truth probably is. And that's documentary. And so it follows that kind of narrative act structure also. Sometimes. Sometimes it's just a bunch of stuff that happens. Just looks pretty. I'll give you cat YouTube videos. I mean, come on. That's what Aristotle would call spectacle over narrative. Anyway, Aristotle's a good one to get into. So all right, let's talk about the screenplay. I've talked about all this fancy schmancy, airy-fairy stuff about story. It's a blueprint. See, I put that in bold because I'm serious about it. It's a blueprint for production. It's a goddamn plan. Who reads the instructions before they put anything together?
I feel my way.
It's a good idea. I've worked, again, it took me 40 years to work out, I should read the instructions. I like reading instructions. I've actually really gotten into it. So it's everything we see and hear on screen. I am screaming all the time, show, don't tell. Show, don't tell. Show me. Don't tell me. Unless you're going to stand in front of the camera and say, hey, I'm the director of this. I just thought you should know that this is what should be happening now. But I didn't write the screenplay very well. See. We see and hear. That's all we can describe in our screenplay. It prescribes location, cast, dialogue, screen action, and sound effects. That's all it does. It prescribes them. It suggests camera angles, performance, and edits. It suggests, again, I put it in bold, I'm getting really, adamant here. It does not determine camera angles, performance, and edits. It suggests them. You do not put camera directions on your screenplay. And there's a very good reason for that, which I'll unpack in a minute. It's a default shot list. It should all be there. And again, it's codified, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And it's a sequence of succinctly described images that tell a story, drawing our attention to key visuals and relationships on screen, drawing our attention to it, showing us. It is the hardest form of writing. I'll make no bones about it. It is the hardest thing to get right. I've written plays, I've written prose, never written poetry, but these are really difficult to pull off. So keep it simple. I've kept them very, very, very simple. Because what you're doing is you're only working with images. You're like a poet. You're describing images and you're just describing sound. But you can't tell anyone what's going on in someone's head. Even though there's this burning issue within this character, you can't break the fourth wall and tell the audience because they're watching a movie. It's a total suspension of disbelief. Are there any theatre drama teachers here? Yeah. In drama, I'm the actor. You're looking at me. I'll interpret the work. Thank you very much. You writer, bugger off. It's me. And you, the audience, can direct your gaze wherever you want to direct it. With film, I am totally manipulating you. With sound, image, I'm directing your eye. I decide, no, there's close up on my thumbnail here, right now, for these 2 seconds. Now I'm going to throw you to a wide angle shot. Now I'm going to put you on a train. I'm messing with your head. It's a dreamscape. It's so hard to get right. It's so hard to get right. Because it's feeling. It's not really thinking. It's really feeling. In theatre, and I've gone back to the theatre, I love it in the sense that the audience come to you. They go, no, I'm in this, I'm going to work. I'll work with you. In screen presentations and movies, no, I'm a baby. I'm on a machine. I'm basically, put me in the dream. And if you stuff up, off, flick. So it's really, really hard to get right. That's why I keep it simple. It's great. It's not impossible. There is a procedure and it can be done. What it is not, I haven't put any bold here. Oh well, I must have relaxed. It is not prose, show, don't tell. We cannot see what is in a character's head. We cannot see or hear backstory. Flashbacks. That's all I'm going to say. Thoughts and feelings must be demonstrated by behaviour on screen. That's why we watch it. We are the voyeur. We're thinking, I reckon I know where this person's coming from. I don't think they're saying exactly what they mean. I wonder what disaster is coming into this situation. So that's what it is not. We must demonstrate by behaviour. We can't go back into someone's head. Voiceover. Anyway, that's all. I will be addressing those things, but and there's always an exception. So the plan, what is it? So it's handy to see it like this poor person in the car. This is a director with a bad screenplay. What the fuck? Where are we going? Who's going there? What car are we driving in? How long will it take? You know, we want to know all these answers from the screenplay. So it's not just nebulous ideas. It's not poetry. It's not prose where, you know, you can go into someone's head. It's got to be specific. It is a specific plan. But then you've got to think, who needs this plan? Okay? It's not just you, the screenwriter. It's not just the director. There's a director, the producer, the cinematographer, the actor, the editor, and the designer. And that's just the basics. That's just 6 people. They kind of do, in a ballpark way, sum up all the other peripheral people in film production. Because the director's looking at theme, story, meaning, and visuals. They want to tell a story, and I should say genre here, actually, because directors are often obsessed with genre. The producer's looking at location, cast, style. How many locations are there? There's no way I can shoot this. I don't have the budget for it. This is impossible. I don't have the time for it. What genre is it? How can I sell this? I have to sell this movie, at least to my mum. And she's not going to watch it if it's a shit genre that she doesn't like. So there you go, no audience, gone, like that. Even your mum's gone, she won't watch it. The cinematographer is looking for how many shots are there? What's the duration of those shots? And what is the size of the shots? This is all going to be in the screenplay in a specific way. The actor's looking at subtext, performance cues, objectives, motivations. Is this a real character? Have I got anything to do when I'm on set? Or am I just sitting there like a warm prop who's a two-dimensional, dull character that doesn't do anything? I'm an actor, for God's sake. I studied for 3 years at Flinders Drama Centre. I'm really freaking professional. I want something challenging. Or, you know, I'm in year 10 studying drama. I want to do something because you're really cool drama teachers and you've taught them how to, you know, create character. The editor's looking for a sequence of images and sounds that tell a story. Sequence, looking for sequences. One image following the other. They're Eisenstein freaks. They love the idea of montage. I should say the cinematographer loves the mise en scène. You put amazing stuff in the frame. And the designer's looking for consistent genre, opportunities for style, and a really cool aesthetic. A colour scheme that might have been suggested by the screenplay. There are these 6 people judging you from the pantheon of film production. Good luck, screenwriter. Don't worry, it's doable. It's very doable. There's a methodology of doing it. Again, firstly, keeping it simple. But the scary thing is you've only got these things to work with. You've got scene headings, you've got screen direction, character names, dialogue, and parenthesis. Yawn. How boring. How am I going to do all of that with this sort of basic screenplay format that I've got? I'm glad you asked. I'm going to show you. All right, this is a screenplay. Okay, it's a really boring one. I just wrote it for teaching purposes. With the screenplay, what you're doing, and you can get any template you want. I use Word. I just made a template through Word. You can do it. You can do it in an afternoon, or you can go and get a Final Draft if you like. Or even if you've got Macs, they've got a template. I'm sure there's a template you can get. Don't worry about formatting as such. That's you can do that. So all of these indentations, you can do presets, text styles. Just take a PDF of a screenplay and measure them. That's what I did, and then just do your own. Or use Final Draft, up to you. So what I'm really going to be talking about, what's really important though, is what these paragraphs do. Okay, so in this, the first, I don't know if you can read it, sorry, it's probably a bit show, but I'll read it to you. There's a little paragraph there. Firstly, we've got what the Americans call a slug line. I don't know why they call it that. I've no idea. It's a scene heading. Right? Scene heading. Now, I've got number 1 there because it's the first one. That number's really, really important. as is kitchen. If it's a kitchen, it's a kitchen, and it always stays that kitchen. If it's a Sue's kitchen, then it's Sue's kitchen. You don't change the name of that screen heading. Because if you are going to organise the schedule, you need to know that that's the one location. It doesn't change. So whatever you call that, it's got to be consistent. Interior day. Exterior night, I was told, never say that. It's too expensive. Interior day, yeah. Interior night, that's okay. But exterior night, nah, too expensive. So we've got here, Sue, a tired-looking woman in her late 30s, slowly washes up a large pile of dishes. Okay, that's our first shot. Okay, I'm being clever here. Because if I want another shot, I drop a line. She pauses to look out the window. She sighs deeply, then returns to her task. So, image number 1, image number 2. Then the third image, the simple kit, which I cleverly do by dropping a line. The simple kitchen consists of a small table, a fridge, a sink and a wood oven. The table is laden with a dozen empty beer bottles and some dirty plates. Sue finishes washing up a large pot and slams it in the drainer. Then she turns and looks at the table with disgust. She walks over and picks up a bottle. 3 images, okay? The first one, we have a tired-looking woman in her late 30s slowly washing a large pile of dishes. The content of that shot is described within that paragraph. We have a figure, we got dishes. That's what we got. That's what's described, that's what we shoot. What sort of shot is that? It's filming. Medium, yeah, it could be a mid-shot. But that's not your call. How dare you? How dare you? No, it's implied, exactly. So it's implied you're not doing the job of the cinematographer. You're drawing my attention to the visually significant aspects that tell story. So here we have character. Character, discontent. Actually, we don't know if she's discontent or not. That's the question. How does she feel about washing those dishes? Answer. She forces to look out the window. A symbol of escape. So clever, isn't it? She sighs deeply. She's not happy. Then returns to her task. She has no other choice but to stay in this situation. She's in a state of stasis. So clever. The screenwriter has done that with 2 images. Woohoo! Now, what is the specific nature of this location in which Sue is? I want to know more. There's a discontent person who longs for escape. I've seen 2 images. Wow. What's the third one? Oh, we broaden it up, we open it up. Hang on, it's a wide angle. WA. I'll cleverly write that on the script. But I'm not going to do it now because I'm the screenwriter. I'm not the director, I'm not the cinematographer, but I'm very clever. I have her walking and I have the nature of this, the duration of the shot is implied by the length of the paragraph. So, if the shot's going to be this maybe 4 seconds, I don't know, maybe 6 seconds, this might be, I don't know, 11 seconds. So if it's going to be 11 seconds, then I extend the details that I want people to concentrate on within the shot. And I extend that, I give you some lots of details. I've got beer bottles, I've got dirty plates, I've got slamming things in the dish drainer, I've got stuff happening. It's a long sort of shot in duration and in width. We've got to see all this stuff. So it could be a wide angle. Lock off. Hey, but you know what? I've got a really clever cinematographer who goes, oh, I know, I'm going to put it on tracks. I'm going to slowly turn around like this. I've made the decision. I'm the cinematographer. I'm cool. Ha ha, you laughed behind her back because you've already done it. Anyway, I'm being silly. But the thing is that you are working with a team and you set up the default of what the shoot is going to be. Yeah.
So will you go in and see this first? Like, will you see the set and then decide on how the movement's going to happen, or is that
when you're shooting?
Yeah.
Wow, we've got into production already.
Yeah,
cool, this is fun. You'd mark it up, and you would, as the cinematographer, go, oh, okay, yep, I'm gonna lock that off, but I might track that. I might put that on track. I might even handheld. I might do over the shoulder.
But even writing this, it seems like it's been blocked out already, sort of.
Vision, yeah.
Ish.
Okay.
Ish, as much as you can be bothered, or as much as you feel, but it's mainly drawing my attention to the visual significance.
Okay.
So don't worry about, and I never worry about camera angles. I have I've set up shoots, and I have actually very briefly been a shooter, camera person, but this is me telling a story, thinking of the visuals, really, and the nature, and I think, and you then get an innate sense that we need a combination of shots, question and answer. Question, set up, answer. So it's a constant causality of images. So the causality is there. Who is this person? How does she feel? Who's this person? What is she doing? Answered. How does she feel about it? Answered. Where is she? Oh, but this has posed more questions. There's empty beer bottles. There's dishevelment. She's disgusted. Oh my God, she can't stay in this situation for too long. Then, what is she tempted by? In this very short shot here, she notices a bottle isn't open. She looks to her left and quickly then back at the bottle. She's furtive. There's someone off screen, off camera, that she's concerned about. That's what this is suggesting. Another question is posed. She sighs and puts down the bottle, then Mike enters. In this final fifth shot, the answer to all her problems, or the reason behind it, is perhaps this character. We don't know for sure yet. And then we get introduced to the character.
I guess you have to be a team player, which would be really difficult if this is your baby, this is your story.
It's not your baby, it's not your story.
Well, I know, but that's how I feel. And then you've got to share that with other people.
Yeah.
That's part of the process.
Suck it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't tread on each other's toes.
Sorry, yeah, it's film.
Yeah.
I mean, I wept. I came from theatre when I first did my screenwriting, and it's like, what the hell is this? I can't shoot this, go and write it again.
Yeah.
Who the hell are you? I'm the director.
You can't take it
I'm the
personally.
producer. Ultimately, you know who controls it is the producer.
Yeah.
The producer controls everything.
Yeah.
This idea of the director, the single filmmaker, it's always been bullshit. We've just seen these standout examples of that.
Yeah.
There are millions of films made, commercially viable, culturally significant, of which a tiny proportion of them are made by auteurs. We forget, and this is the thing, we forget there's a massive industry in India. There's a huge industry in Nigeria. I've been and Ghana. I'm part of that industry. It's a process. It's telling stories of the community that resonate with the community, and everyone's a technician, an artisan, like there were in medieval times. You're building the cathedral. You're building the cathedral, and this is the part you played. And I think if you introduce students to that concept, it relieves them. So you want to make a statement, go write a poem.
Yeah.
Or tell me, look me in the eye and tell me what you really believe, and then I'll respect you. But just build.
Yeah.
It's a cool process. It's a lot of fun. It's like dancing. You get together and you dance with someone. You haven't choreographed it. You're just making something happen.
Yeah.
And so that again alleviates that stress. By all means, if you go and you empower yourself and you want to control your own production company, become a producer, and guess what? Put your ass on the line and put money down. And not only that, sorry, I'm on a soapbox here. You got a soapbox? I sort of produced a feature film where I was scrubbing the floor at 2 a.m. because I was responsible for that set. That's the glamour of filmmaking.
Yeah.
So and this is really, you've got to
that.
cut that ego out completely. Completely.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing.
For development and pre-production, just the whole structure of it, I know you say, oh, okay, we might throw an idea in the bin, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But for students, would you give them set goals, like you need to do this by a certain time?
I reckon so, yeah. And you make it as easy as possible for them by scaffolding the genre, scaffolding the story type. So they don't have to talk about, this is my story about this person who does such and such. It's there, it's scaffolded. You're just putting an interesting spin or interpretation on it.
Okay, cool.
Or, really, you are looking at the technicalities of putting this document together so that it can be shot. Definitely. I use my second year students, I get them to adapt a short story. I used to get them to create a short film, but no. Adapt the short story, and then you're working like a filmmaker, like a screenwriter, who needs to look at images and sounds. And then just with dialogue, again, I'll talk about this in a bit more detail later on, but you break the dialogue up with short little bits of screen direction, because that draws the camera to who it should be concentrating on at any given time. Now, it won't be like that, it won't be set in stone, but it's suggesting the shot reverse shot.
It's suggesting that, that when that moment occurs, the camera's on Sue, and it can go back to Mike, and it probably will, but we're just pointing the camera to where we think it probably should be at that moment. It may not be. It may be different. It's a default, and it will always change. But it's your way of kind of constructing the film through the screenplay. I've worked with Helen Carter, my colleague at Flinders, a lot. She's DOP'd a lot of the stuff I've done, and she really likes this. As a DOP, she comes, oh great, oh I can see the default that I need to do, and I'll change it. You know, I'll kind of do a different thing here and there, but at least I've got the default. At least I can glance at the page and know it's going to work. The one thing you don't want is slabs of writing and slabs of thoughts and feelings. Impossible to shoot. Simple, 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 simple. Leading towards dialogue that's kind of split up. And I think that's enough. You know, you don't go too heavily into subtext and that kind of idea, otherwise people get confused.
Do people get fussy about, you know, certain sections not being in italics or highlighting the bold names and all that kind of stuff, like a script?
Okay, I'll talk about that briefly now. Yeah, but no, it's important. In Australian screenplays, when the character's named first, they're in caps. After that, they're not. In American screenplays, sometimes they're in caps all the way through the script. In TV screenplays, they each have their own format. Every single TV show has a different format. I've worked across them. Home and Away had a different format, to Always Greener, to the McCullough program. At least ones I've worked across, they're all different. You've got to learn it.
Yeah.
And I have done my own formats for corporate videos that work for me because I'm going to be editing or I'm going to be working closely with the editor. I've written it, I've got to shoot it, so it draws my attention to those important elements that I need to capture. It's a big question.
Yeah.
But the simple answer to that is, this is it pretty well. And I'll talk about the other little elements. And there are others, but don't worry about them.
Yeah.
Don't worry about them for now. It's enough that they get shootable scripts rather than the other little things. And they'll come up as we go through.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the rest of that script that moves on. So look, we have scene heading, just to go through the script here. Interior kitchen day, keep it consistent. Really don't, day, night, evening or morning, or continuous if it's the same scene that's just coming back after a flashback or something. Brief, consistent description of location. That's the main thing. You don't have kitchen sometimes, Sue's kitchen another times, because your third AD, which would be scheduling it, would literally say, oh, they're two different locations. So just keep that location consistent. I know it sounds pedantic, but for students, you've got to say, this is an industrial process. This screenplay is like code. It's like computer code. If you get it wrong, it doesn't work. So I think that's a way, again, of relieving them from the idea of being these great creators of incredible story. They're interpreters. And our screen directions, only what we see and hear. Okay, so I've got two ways of describing this rather romantic scene here, which... where we have Meghana and Siddharth hold hands at a cafe table and stare lovingly, it's really hard to say, into each other's eyes. And there's the second version, Meghana and Siddharth hold hands at a cafe table, they just got engaged. They stare into each other's eyes and wonder how they got so lucky, their parents are so proud of them. Now, which is right and which is wrong? Yeah, I've got to clear with it. Oh, that's right, that's wrong, I'm sure you guessed that. Because here we have just got engaged. Do we need to know that? And if we do need to know that, it's another line. It's a separate paragraph. We see an engagement ring on Meghana's hand. They wondered why they got so lucky. That's in their heads. That's in their heads. Unless, Siddharth says, I'm so lucky I got engaged to you in the dialogue, if that's really important. But visually, that's saying they're in love. You do it visually. You don't say that. And their parents being proud of them. Cut to table of their parents, smiling and nodding, if you really want to say that. Yay, thumbs up. Couldn't be happier. So that's really important. Only see and hear. I keep writing that across text. They should be written in the present tense, short, active sentences, subject, verb and object. I still have third years who don't understand what a subject and a verb and object is. And describe the perspective of character where possible and in terms of movement and action. Okay, it's a movie, things are happening. Okay, this is another important point. That's Julia Roberts on a horse, looking worried.
No.
Runaway Bride.
Is it?
Yeah, you got it.
Oh, best friends.
Ah, same thing, really. And here's the opening of that movie. Sorry, the formatting is a bit weird because I sort of cut and pasted it. Usually it wouldn't be, the gaps wouldn't be so big. And it's a Hollywood movie, so it's very big budget, so forgive me. A wide expanse of Maryland farmland day. Okay, that's a wide expanse of farmland. Obviously they have a helicopter. The wind rustles the endless field of corn, blows over the freshly mown meadow of soybeans, and magically sways a copse of trees. It's a fall afternoon. How dare that screenwriter propose to manipulate the wind itself? This person's playing God. This person's playing God. And then a sudden pounding of galloping hooves breaks the peace. And a horse, and again, this is an American thing, and I use it myself. I capitalise those things that are really important, okay? That someone has to go and buy or find. That's what I've done in low budget production. And you're welcome to go, okay, this is what, you yourselves, you can do this yourselves, because people change this all the time.
Can you highlight, or is that like...
I don't know if you want, if you can replicate that. But this is fairly common to capitalise things that are really important. A horse and rider burst between the rows of corn into the meadow. They are running for their lives. Okay, and that strictly is not screenwriting, but you kind of get it. They're running desperately. So it can have a visual interpretation. So you can be forgiving of stuff like that. However, if we just analyse these two images, they are from the perspective of character. What's the character here? There's a character in that image. The wind. Huh? The dirt?
The trees.
The trees is the object in a way that's being acted upon. What is acting? The wind. But is it really the wind? What is it? It's what?
Helicopter.
A helicopter, practically. It is a helicopter. Come on, people, what is it? It's Julia Roberts, for God's sake.
It's the tension of the emotions.
It's the emotion, it's the God of love. It's the God of love and romance. Sweeping through the autumn, it's an American screenplay. Sweeping through this magical environment.
Is Julia on her way?
And Julia's on her way, who's going to contradict. The question is, what a beautiful scene.
Yes.
What magic. Oh, it's a romantic movie. It's got Julia Roberts in it. It must be. I'm just waiting for the soybeans and magical romance. I'm there. I've got my popcorn. I'm loving it. And the wind is helping me out. I'm rustling. So they don't literally wait for the wind or command the wind like Prospero. They basically just have been informed to a magical environment that is going to have a catalyst hit it that is going to contradict that thing that's been set up. Okay? The gods are saying it's a magical day, it's beautiful. Oh, something's happening. There's someone on a horse running for their lives. Oh my God, I thought it was a romance. It's an adventure story. Oh, hang on. Just when I thought I was in that comfortable zone, the scene changes. It's a bride. A beautiful woman. I hate that word, beautiful, because beauty to me is not beauty to someone else, but again, it's Julia Roberts, so what do you do? Dressed in a dishevelled wedding gown. Ooh, there's a problem. Tattered train, flying like a knight's banner. Oh, wow, cinematographer, great. Priscilla, Queen of the Desert shot. Fantastic. This is Maggie Carpenter, and this is an American thing. The horse is frothing, wild-eyed, like the bride who turns to look behind her in terror. Hang on, she's a bride. It should be the best day of her life. Hey, you know what? I think it's the worst day of her life. Click, 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 click. I'm a baby. I'm suspended in some sort of liquid watching something. That's what film viewers do. And so you're manipulating them every single step of the way. The image does that. Anyway, so we get wide, closer, closer, closer. This is the angles described by the screen directions. Panic gasp, and then we see a wedding bouquet fly into a ditch as the horse thunders on. Great. Your cinematographer's having a field day here. Because I've got a helicopter, I've got a train, I've got a horse, I'm tracking it. Oh, now I've got this close-up, this wide-angle close-up. Brilliant. And the horse in the background. Mise en scène, eat your heart out. Yeah.
How long do you think the scene would go for? It seems like it would be quite a quick.
Yeah.
It is quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look how much work goes into
I know.
just that.
Yeah. I don't know,
That's
2
insane.
minutes or less.
Yeah.
90 seconds. Oh, I spent 3 weeks, day and night, building some gateway for a film that was in it for 11 seconds.
That's insane.
Yeah, so use found assets. So there you go. It's sort of expanding, sort of expressing through the point of view of character. And so, like just to remind you, one image, one shot, one paragraph, one image. Sue sits on the bed staring at the dead sparrow. That's 2 shots. You know, that you drop a line.
Yeah.
So like it's a little short line. You basically do dot 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 drop to the next line. Lots of short lines is a good thing because little sequences, breaking the paragraph, one shot. And as I said, they do not include camera or editing directions. W, A, C, U, MS, forget them. They don't exist. As the screenwriter, they come in later. They're added by the director later on because the content of the paragraph equates to the size of the shot. If I say a man paddles a canoe under stormy clouds, it's a wide shot. Priya looks worried, it's a close-up. You know, I've said that. That's what it's going to be. Who knows? The cinematographer might surprise you. And that's fun. We're all a team here, you know, and everyone has their caps on. Basically, I'll just quickly through other elements. Parentheses, that's 1 or 2 words expressed, that just express the delivery style, which is in brackets just underneath the character name, okay? Again, really, really brief, the parentheses. And then OS means off-screen, when the character is in the scene but not in the frame, like a phone conversation. VO, voiceover, when the character is not in the story as it happens, memories and commentary, etc. But anyway, all of this is in, screenwriting manuals, so it's not much that I can add to that. And I'll just quickly say about dialogue, very short lines. No slabs of dialogue because it's not theatre, it's film and it's an action. I say something in order to manipulate someone and I don't say what I mean. And as I said before, break up the lines with screen directions and to suggest who we should be focusing on in any given time. It's really, really important we do that. And drama teachers will know all about subtext. The same thing applies. You say the opposite of what you mean, the viewer has to work out the truth, as you know that. Mark Antony's speech in Julius Caesar is a great example. Do you teach Shakespeare anymore?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good on you.
Yeah. Almost. Yeah.
Oh, it's just, there's so much in Shakespeare. It's visual, it's just the way he uses metaphor, it's like watching a movie. That's why they make such great movies. And so that's...
One of my students, you would talk about the Ironburg pentameter, and he'll come around and go, Miss, I remember T-dum, T-dum, T-dum.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. That's rhythm, that's got a rhythm that we come to expect, and film has its own rhythm, its own style and pace that this screenwriter needs to kind of put in there. Now, okay, just these other documents. Now, I won't go into this. This is the last thing I say because I'm running out of time, because I want you to open up and ask questions if you need. So your basic coverage is shot, reverse shot. Okay, so you're writing for that, and this is when you mark up your script. This is an example from a corporate video I did about palliative care, where we get our wide shot, which is the third shot of the day, and I'll show you that in a sec. 3.1 was wide. 3.2, shot number 3.2 was a mid-shot, and shot number 3.3 was another mid-shot focusing on Bob. So I had an established shot, and then move the camera there to look at Bob, and then move the camera here to look at Anne. You shoot the wide first, because if all goes to shit after that, at least you've got the wide, it's your safety, and then you do the close-up, and sometimes you'll punch in, you'll do CU while you're there. So you've got MS and then CU while you're doing that. And you run the scene 3 times. Okay? At least. So when you think about mess-ups, then you'll be doing it 9 times. If you want to punch in and do a close-up for variety in the edit, which is worth doing because you've got a wide shot of Ant, but you want to do a little CU of Ant for variety, then you're going to do it, I'm really bad at maths, 12 times at least. So it's a lot of times you're shooting this stuff. And look, it's just that. So this is when you do your marked up shooting script, you go, okay, I've got 3 setups. So all things going well, I'll get each one. I used to budget on 20 minutes to get that wide, right? Or 15 maybe, because 20 was a luxury. So I had 15 minutes to get that one, then 15 minutes to get that one, 15 minutes to get that one. That's setting up cameras, sound, fleckies, lighting, moving it all around. 15 minutes is really, really tight. And it's just that. And that's if I get it the first time. If the actor messes up or we're technically messing about, you could do 3 takes. I tried never to do more than 3 takes. You're killing yourself if you do. Yeah. If your students are going, take 7, take 8, no. You haven't prepared it properly. That's a warning sign. You should be able to get it, or it's too much for the actor to handle. So that's sort of, and look, I could go on, and this is this very simple version of a marked up shooting script, but that's basically it. Yeah.
My friend, my film friend, she said that if you do take a shot, you shouldn't delete it until it comes to the editing process.
Oh no, don't delete anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, if they're doing that, you never ever want to go to format the card. The card's precious. My first shoot, a professional shoot, I had the card. I was paranoid about the damn thing. You drop that down a drain, there's all your 2 days' work gone. So back up. Data wrangling, for God's sake, back up in triplicate. And never delete a card, never format a card until it's backed up twice. But I guess it's student project, maybe the stakes aren't so high. So that's kind of a shooting script in a nutshell, and your shot list. Okay. So this is what I do. There is as many ways of designing a shot list as there are making films. Okay. But the bottom line is this. That this is for again, it's the same video which is about palliative care. And in my shot list, I just love doing it like this. So it's my ticker box thing. That if this was full of pen marks, yes, I'm sort of really relieved at the end of the day. So the first shot, and so I'm doing my shot 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and that's my codification. If you like, you can just do it sequentially or in numbers. And that's to the schedule. So there's a combination between a shot list and a schedule. So I know that shot description, talk between Dr. Lachlan and Nurse Katie, that will be marked up on my screenplay, so I know exactly what's going on. So I've got the screenplay, I've got the marked up screenplay, the shot list in my hand at both times. If I can afford it, I've got a first AD who's got that in their hands. If I can afford it, the second AD's got that in their hands, and the first AD's wrangling the cast. There are levels and levels and levels and levels of production. But generally, it's the director doing all of it in small-scale productions. So you've got those 2 documents in your hand. And take 1, take 2. Notice I've only got 3 takes there because I can't afford any more. And notes which is the best, and that's the P. P means print in the old days when we had film. So the P take is the one where you'll circle. That's the one. That clip is what I'm going to select. Again, if you've got the time, you can write down the number of the clip. No one ever does, but you make sure that you correlate your card to the shooting schedule so you can find the clip that is the one that should be put in the assembly edit. If you get your camera notes right, editing is so much more straightforward. If you don't do camera notes on your shot list, nightmare. Absolute nightmare.
Have you had nightmares?
I've had so many nightmares. Early on, and then I learned, and then not a few, 1 or 2.
What kept you going then? Because
money.
It's bad. Money.
Got to pay to do it. Oh no, and I love not doing it. Oh, you stuff up and it's like, oh, all right, whatever. I mean, I haven't stuffed up so bad that I've lost a whole card. If I'd done that, that's disaster. I've done bad camera notes, and the editor's gone, oh, come on, man, this is taking me ages and it's got pissed off with me.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been a disaster.
Yeah,
but I've learned.
Yeah,
it's learned. Yeah. So you get that right, and again, you can emphasise to your students. I'll send you this, and you can use this as your own kind of template, I guess. Get this right, and then hand it to. If you're the editor, you're going to thank yourself for it, but then you're able to shoot and cut it appropriately. So that's a little combined shot list schedule. And I'm not going to go into this, it's way too complicated, the schedule, but it's literally what you're shooting when. Yeah. And it's really important, the order and who's required. Again, for kids at a high school, it's not such a big deal. You've got a limited amount of time anyway, so you're going to just have to kind of do this, I think, rather than them doing it. So yeah, that's my little good combination of the two things. Just notice there's the time.
Is that SC number? Is that scene or schedule?
Shot number scene. Sorry, shot. Hang on, where are we?
Time, shot, SC. Up the top. Yeah.
No, you're up. No, that should. Yes, that's the wrong round. That should be scene. That should be shot. I think. Yeah.
And so it'd be scene one, shot one.
Yeah, scene one, shot one. Sorry, it is around the wrong way.
And when you had the shooting script, that was the 3.1, 3.2.
Yeah, all marked up. Yeah, so I'll correct that and I'll send it to you. It's confusing. Anyway, so don't worry too much about that. And then finally, okay, this is the last thing I'll say. Should I end on a negative? No. What films should students write? Films based on pre-existing stories, I reckon, just do a lot of the work for them. Make use of assets at your disposal. What objects do we have? What environment do we have? What lighting conditions do we have? I love open windows like this. It's so cool to shoot against this because the light here is beautiful. Yeah. Walking around looking at light. As a filmmaker, you work with light. That's what a camera is. It manipulates light. Thinking about that and excited about that. Because if you don't get excited about that, why are you making a film? Image-driven films, specific purpose, a promotional video for the sports day or something like that. They're really good projects. Because what is it about the sports day that's really cool and fun? Why is it important? They have to think about the hypothesis of the film. What are the characters? So they're really good things to do. Films that get made, if it's possible to make them. Don't do horror stories that's going to take, impossible assets. So the last thing, okay. What to avoid? Flashbacks.
Time travel's wife. It's full of
Let the present speak for the past and let the audience work it out. The drama is now. Avoid it. It's discipline as a storyteller. Voiceover is a cheating system to inform the audience what you have failed to demonstrate on the screen.
That's Forrest Gump, isn't it? We're thinking about that.
I rest my case. Okay, all right. There are some brilliant examples of voiceover. However, these are people who've made films for many, 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 many years. They've cut their teeth on other ways of visual storytelling. If you've got Morgan Freeman, yes, use voiceover. If you've got Tom Hanks, yes, use voiceover. If you've got, $200 million, do whatever you damn well want. Guns, no, don't use guns for many reasons. They end the conversation. They're a cheat. Exposition, players, characters saying exactly what they mean or just filling us in on backstory. Again, avoid it. Try and do it through drama, through behaviour. Again, the most important thing is it gets made. Okay, so just something to think about, something to avoid. I think I've pretty well run out of time, and I think that is the most important thing about what I wanted to say.